didn't take it!
She didn't put it there.
The $2 million necklace was found inside Lena Hart's handbag, and security was already dragging her toward the front door when her 7-year-old son shouted, "Stop. She didn't put it there." Every camera in Blackwood Estate showed Lena near the jewelry room, yet 4 critical minutes had vanished from the security system. So who erased those 4 minutes, and why did someone need Lena to look guilty? "Mom, tell him." Noah cried. Lena twisted toward her son. "Noah, please. Go upstairs." "I saw her," he said. Julian Blackwood, the owner of the estate, stopped the guards with one raised hand. "Who did you see?" Noah pointed across the marble hall. "Mrs. Shaw." Every employee looked at Veronica Shaw, the estate administrator. Veronica barely moved. "That child is confused," she said. "He has no idea what he saw." Noah shook his head. "I know what I saw." Julian stared at the boy. Months earlier, he had found Noah's wooden train beside the garden fountain and returned it to him. He had given Noah a business card afterward. "If you ever need help, call me," Julian had said. Noah had kept the card. Now he pulled it from his pocket with both hands. "I called you because you said I could." Julian looked at Lena. She had worked for him for 9 years. She had never been accused of stealing anything. Yet the necklace had been found in her bag. "Mr. Blackwood," Lena said, "I swear I never touched it." Julian didn't answer. Instead, he turned to Marcus Vale, his security director. "Pull every camera covering that hallway." Marcus disappeared into the security office. 30 seconds later, his voice came through the intercom. "Sir, we have a problem." Julian walked inside. Marcus pointed at the monitor. The footage showed Lena entering the jewelry room. It showed another employee leaving. Then the recording jumped forward. 4 minutes were missing. "Equipment failure?" Julian asked. "No." Marcus tapped the keyboard. The system didn't fail. Someone deleted the footage manually. Julian leaned closer. "Who has access?" Marcus opened the authorization log. 6 people. He paused. "Yourself, me, the IT contractor, and 3 administrators." Julian's eyes moved toward the hall. Veronica was still standing there. "Can you prove she did it?" "Not yet." That answer should have ended the accusation. Instead, Julian asked the guards to keep Lena there. Marcus looked at him. "Sir, if someone manipulated the evidence, we shouldn't treat the evidence as conclusive." Julian's jaw tightened. "Find out what happened." Marcus went further. He checked the camera immediately outside the jewelry room. That recording had survived. It showed Lena entering. It showed her leaving. But something bothered Marcus. The necklace was still inside the jewelry room when Lena left. He rewound the footage. Then he froze. "Sir." Julian came closer. Marcus pointed at the timestamp. The necklace was still there after Lena left. Julian stared at the screen. "If she didn't take it." Marcus finished the sentence. "Someone took it afterward." The accusation against Lena had just collapsed. Julian ordered the guards to release her. Lena didn't move. "You believed it was me," she said. Julian looked at her. "I made a mistake." "You didn't make a mistake," Lena replied. "You made a decision." Nobody spoke. Then Marcus opened another file. There's more. He had compared the estate's inventory records against previous months. Several expensive items were missing. Not just jewelry. Household purchases had been inflated. Maintenance payments had gone to companies nobody at the estate remembered hiring. Julian stared at the spreadsheet. "How long?" Marcus answered carefully. Possibly 2 years. Veronica suddenly stepped forward. This is absurd. You're turning a missing necklace into some conspiracy. Marcus looked at her. No. The necklace is what made us check. He opened the financial records. Every questionable payment passes through your department. Veronica's expression hardened. You're accusing me now. I'm investigating you. She turned to Julian. You know how long I've protected this estate. Julian didn't respond. Because Marcus had found another connection. The administrator credentials used to delete the 4 missing minutes belonged to Veronica's department. Not Lena's. Not security. Veronica's. Lena looked at Julian. So someone could have framed me. Julian answered quietly. Yes. Lena's voice dropped. Then find out who. Marcus began interviewing the staff. Most refused to speak. One employee said, I don't know anything. Another wouldn't even enter the security office. Finally, a young assistant named Sophie Grant agreed to talk. She kept glancing toward the corridor. Mrs. Shaw controls everyone's schedules, Sophie whispered. She decides who stays and who goes. Marcus asked, why are you afraid of her? Sophie swallowed. Because people who question her don't stay employed. She explained that Veronica regularly approved invoices without proper checks. Sophie had questioned one payment months earlier. Veronica had told her to sign it anyway. Then came the detail Marcus couldn't ignore. On the night the necklace disappeared, Veronica had ordered Sophie out of the security office. For how long? 4 minutes. Marcus stared at her. Exactly 4. Sophie nodded. She told me to deliver papers to the West Wing. Did you see anything when you came back? Sophie hesitated. Then she said, she was holding a velvet case. Marcus leaned forward. Did you see what was inside? No. Are you sure? Sophie looked toward the doorway. I didn't see the necklace. That answer changed the investigation. Because Marcus now had 3 separate facts pointing in the same direction. Veronica had access to the security system. Veronica had controlled who entered the security office. And Veronica had been holding a jewelry case during the missing 4 minutes. Julian ordered Marcus to keep investigating quietly. But Marcus had one more question. Why Lena? He checked her personnel file. Nothing. No disciplinary reports. No financial problems. No previous accusations. Then he found something that made him stop. 3 weeks before the necklace disappeared, Lena had reported an unusual household purchase. A shipment had been billed to the estate. Lena knew the estate had never received it. She had told Sophie. Sophie had told Veronica. And after that, Lena's name appeared in a private administrative document. Marcus read it twice. Julian. What? Marcus turned the screen toward him. It was a list of employees marked for review. Lena's name was first. The date was 3 days before the necklace vanished. Julian's face changed. Lena hadn't been selected because she was an easy suspect. She had been selected before the crime. The necklace had been used to make the accusation believable. Julian looked toward the hallway where Lena was waiting. Find out exactly how they planted it. Marcus nodded. Then his phone buzzed. A security alert had just appeared. Someone was trying to remotely delete another file. Marcus stared at the screen. Someone knows we're investigating. And this time, they weren't trying to protect the necklace. They were trying to erase the evidence that could expose everything. Lena had been framed. The bigger question was why. And Marcus was now racing against someone who knew exactly what he was looking for. If you're already wondering what was hidden inside that estate, subscribe now. because the evidence that finally exposed the person behind Lena's accusation doesn't appear until the investigation reaches its most dangerous point. Marcus locked the security office. Then he noticed a second name in the access log. Someone besides Veronica had entered the room during those 4 missing minutes. Marcus enlarged the access log. The second name belonged to Daniel Reed, a junior household attendant who had worked at Blackwood Estate for less than a year. Marcus found Daniel in the service corridor. "Were you inside the security office that night?" Daniel stopped walking. "No." Marcus showed him the access record. Daniel stared at the screen. "I didn't steal anything. I didn't ask about the necklace." Daniel's face tightened. Marcus lowered his voice. "Tell me what Veronica made you do." Daniel looked toward the cameras. Then he whispered, "She told me Lena was stealing from the estate." "What did she ask you to do?" Daniel didn't answer. Marcus stepped closer. "If you don't tell me now, you'll be investigated as part of the theft. If you tell me the truth, I'll make sure your statement is recorded properly." Daniel closed his eyes. "She gave me the necklace." Marcus said nothing. "She told me to put it inside Lena's handbag." The words hung between them. "Why did you agree?" "Because she said Lena was going to be fired anyway. She said I was helping expose her." Marcus asked, "Did you know the necklace was stolen?" Daniel shook his head. "No. She told me it had been found in Lena's room." "Then why did you plant it?" Daniel looked down. "Because I believed her." Marcus immediately called Julian. Within minutes, Daniel was sitting inside the security office, giving a formal statement. He explained everything. Veronica had taken the necklace from the jewelry room. She had ordered Sophie away from the security office. She had used her administrator credentials to delete the footage. Then she had handed the necklace to Daniel. Daniel had placed it inside Lena's handbag while Lena was working downstairs. But Marcus wasn't satisfied. Where did Veronica keep the financial records? Daniel hesitated. She had a locked cabinet in her office. What's inside? I don't know. Then how do you know it's important? Daniel reached into his pocket. He placed a small brass key on the desk. She told me never to touch it. Julian stared at the key. Why give it to us now? Daniel looked toward the floor. Because I finally understood why Lena had to be blamed. Marcus asked, why? Because she had noticed the fake deliveries. Julian went still. Daniel continued. She wasn't supposed to know about them. Marcus took the key. The three men walked to Veronica's office. The door was unlocked. The cabinet wasn't. Marcus inserted the brass key. The lock clicked. Inside were folders stacked behind one another. Vendor invoices. Payment approvals. Copies of checks. Private notes. Marcus pulled out the first folder. The company listed on the invoice didn't exist. He opened another. Same problem. Another. Same. Julian picked up a handwritten payment schedule. The total amount stopped him cold. Marcus. Marcus read it. The theft wasn't hundreds of thousands. It was several million. The missing necklace had been a distraction from a much larger operation. Veronica had created fake vendors, inflated estate expenses, redirected payments, and altered internal records to hide the transfers. But then Marcus found something worse. A folder labeled with employee names. He opened it. Lena's name appeared first. Underneath it was a handwritten note. Remove before audit. Julian stared at the words. She knew an audit was coming. Marcus nodded. And she needed Lena gone before it happened. Julian closed the folder. Bring Veronica to the main hall. Marcus looked at him. Are you sure? Yes. Do you want the police present? Julian thought for a moment. Not yet. I want her explanation first. Veronica arrived 10 minutes later. She walked into the hall carrying a tablet. What is this about? Julian stood beside the security monitors. The necklace. Veronica sighed. I already told you. Lena had access. Julian said nothing. Marcus placed a printed access log on the table. Veronica glanced at it. You're misunderstanding the system. Marcus placed another document beside it. Then explain why your administrator credentials deleted 4 minutes of footage. Veronica looked at Julian. I wasn't the only person with access. Marcus answered immediately. But your security token was used. Veronica's voice sharpened. That doesn't prove I used it. Marcus placed another document down. Then perhaps this will. It was the staff schedule. Sophie stepped forward. You ordered me out of the security office. Veronica turned toward her. You're lying. Sophie shook her head. I remember because you told me I would lose my job if I refused. Veronica looked at Julian. This is ridiculous. Daniel entered. Veronica's face changed. He stopped several feet away. I put the necklace in Lena's bag. Veronica stared at him. You? Daniel nodded. You told me to. That is a lie. You gave me the necklace. Veronica's voice rose. You're trying to save yourself. Daniel shook his head. I kept the key because I was afraid of what you were doing. Marcus placed the financial records on the table. Veronica stopped talking. Julian opened the cabinet inventory. Fake vendors. He opened another folder. Unauthorized payments. Another. Altered records. Then Julian placed the employee list in front of her. And this says Lena had to be removed before the audit. Veronica stared at the page. For the first time, she had no explanation ready. Julian looked at her. How long? Veronica said nothing. How long have you been stealing from me? Still nothing. Marcus answered for her. According to the records, several years. Veronica finally spoke. You think you're better than me because you inherited this place. Julian's expression hardened. This isn't about who is better. It is, Veronica snapped. You walk into a room and everyone obeys you. I had to build everything from nothing. Julian shook his head. You didn't build this. He pointed toward the evidence. You took it. Veronica tried to walk away. Security officers blocked the exit. Julian looked toward Lena. She had been standing near the staircase throughout the confrontation. She hadn't said a word. Now Julian approached her. I owe you an apology. Lena looked at him. You owe me more than that. Julian nodded. I know. He turned toward the entire staff. Everyone gathered in the hall. Julian spoke clearly. Lena Hart was innocent. Nobody moved. The necklace was planted in her handbag. The evidence against her was manipulated. And I made the mistake of accepting that evidence before asking enough questions. Lena looked down. Julian continued. I dismissed 9 years of her service because one accusation was easier to believe. Then he faced her. I was wrong. Lena finally spoke. You were willing to let them take me away. Julian didn't defend himself. Yes. That answer mattered. He wasn't trying to soften it. I was wrong, he repeated. He then offered Lena her position back. She shook her head. I don't want to return to the way things were. Julian nodded. Then don't. He offered her a new position overseeing household operations. She would supervise staff procedures, review internal complaints, and report directly to him. Lena looked toward the employees. Several of them lowered their eyes. She understood why. They had watched what happened to her. They had been too afraid to speak. If I accept, Lena said, things have to change. Julian answered immediately. They will. No employee should be afraid to question a payment. Agreed. No one should be accused without an investigation. Agreed. And nobody should be treated as disposable because they don't have money. Julian nodded. Agreed. Lena accepted. Weeks later, the changes were visible. Financial approvals required multiple signatures. Security footage was automatically backed up. Employees received a confidential reporting system. No administrator could erase records alone. But the biggest change wasn't written into any policy. Julian began asking questions before making judgments. One afternoon, he found Noah sitting beside the garden fountain. The boy was holding his wooden train. Julian sat beside him. Why were you so sure your mother didn't steal the necklace? Noah looked at him. Because I saw Mrs. Shaw near her bag. Julian smiled. You weren't scared. Noah shrugged. I remembered what you said. Julian frowned. What did I say? You said I could call you if I needed help. Julian looked toward the estate. For years, people had been afraid to challenge decisions because they believed his authority was the final word. A 7-year-old had done what grown adults couldn't. He had asked someone powerful to listen. Julian stood. Across the courtyard, Lena was reviewing a staff report. She noticed Noah. She smiled. Then Julian noticed something on his desk when he returned to the office. The old business card Noah had used that night was lying beside the security report. On the back, in crooked handwriting, Noah had written 3 words. Listen before judging. Julian left the card there. The necklace had been recovered. The fraud had been exposed. Lena's name had been cleared. But the most important thing recovered at Blackwood Estate wasn't the missing jewelry. It was the courage to question evidence before using it to destroy someone. If this story reminded you that one honest voice can expose an entire system of fear, subscribe. There's another story coming next about someone everyone underestimated until the truth finally gave them a voice.